Hey, this is Doug Hammett here with Christian-parenting.org. You'll see the right there the web address that you can go to. And now, don't leave this. All right, don't leave this webinar right now. This episode of Christian Parenting. Don't head off too quick. All right, before we get done. But then afterwards, you want to head on over there. And well, in fact, I'll tell you a little bit about it here in just a moment about a special offer that's over there right now. And if you get to this too late, well, that offer may be gone, but there'll be some other things on that website that I trust will be of some help. Christian-parenting.org. What we're all about here is very simply this. We're concerned about raising godly children, bringing our kids along in faith so that they come to follow the Lord Jesus Christ and love him with all their heart. Not just a matter of outward obedience, not just kids that'll just do what they're told. Now, certainly all of that's a wonderful thing, and a lot of parents are after that. And if they can achieve that, then they're just really thrilled with that alone. But I'm concerned far more than that. I'm concerned as a father, as a grandfather now, even more so with my kids, following on to love Christ and live for Christ with their life. Not just something that I've chosen for them, but something that they choose themselves. And I believe that if we point people in the right direction, if we do the things God wants us to in raising our children, God will intervene and do a work in their heart in turn. And man, one of the greatest mission fields. I'm on a mission field right now here in Africa, but one of the greatest mission fields in all the world is our own children. And if we're not going to reach our own kids, my friend, we really do find that failure is going to hurt and hurt greatly. Well, today I've got for you something very special. I'd promised to be able to bring this special thing to you, and it very simply is an email from a listener. And I've gotten some clarification from this listener as well, and I'm going to share that with you, and then we're going to dive in and talk about this here in just a moment. Real simply, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about an issue that he's dealing with, something that he's asked about, and I believe there are many parents that face this very issue and are concerned about. And so I want to be able to deal with that for a moment. I think it'll help a lot of folks along the way. Before I do, let me mention that over on our website, there's a number of things over there, including not only some free things that you can get, but also the Parent Cast, which costs just a little bit in order to be able to get some very focused help in raising godly children. Now, if that's not what you're all about, if that's not what you're concerned about, then boy, just hit the stop button right now, because you're wasting your time to even be on this broadcast with us. And this is for Christians and Christians that are committed to raising godly children. Now, if that's what you're after, then you're in the right place, okay? And so let's just talk about this for just a little bit. I'm not going to give you this man's name. I told him that I'd not be doing that, and I don't think that'd be necessary. But he did give me permission to be able to read his email to you. And so I'm going to read parts of it here for you. He writes, and we'll just call him Jay, okay? He writes and he says, my 4-year-old boy seems to whine a lot and pitch fits. We've stopped allowing him to play with his animals and his toys after we have warned him about the fit. Okay, now I'm paraphrasing here a little bit. And I asked for some clarification with all of that. And here's what he said. He said, it's basic disobedience when mom and I ask him to put his toys away, clean, help, take a bath, obey in public, and on and on. Now, if he is not in his best or normal obeying mood when he's asked these things, then he'll start his fit. We're trying our best to keep our composure and calmness, but it's disappointing to us that he won't obey. So I'm sure he picks up on that too. And I'm trying to remain understanding to his concern, but firm in my requests and warnings. And so I wanted to deal with this because, first of all, I found in his email an insight here that's very rare, and one that I really I'm excited about, that he's picking up on this. But I also am picking up here a hesitancy, and it's real simple this. Sometimes as parents, when we're dealing with our kids, we see some things that need to be addressed. And we have some insights, but because we lack someone else to come alongside and say, you're on the right track, we kind of back off and we question ourselves. And I think this happens a lot with parents who are conscientious. Now, there are parents who are not conscientious, who don't care at all. They're just going to get their way. They're going to force their way through with their kids, and at any cost, they're going to, have it happen the way they want, okay? But for conscientious parents, they not only want to see their kids obey, but they want to know for sure within their own heart and before the Lord that what they're doing is really the right thing in dealing with an issue. And so with that having been said, and I find that reflected here in the email very well. He says here he's trying to understand his son's concern, but he's trying to be firm in his requests and in his warnings to his son. And I get that. I understand that. I think it's a very wise approach here that you're trying to come up with and trying to deal with. And you've picked up on this one very valuable insight. You've picked up on, well, let me hold off on that. Okay, let me just hold off for a second here, and just say to everyone that's listening, number one, I would really recommend that you go over to our website when this is over and sign up there for the free offer. It's free offer, won't cost you anything. It's a very short video that will give you the STOP formula, S-T-O-P, STOP formula for dealing with temper tantrums. And in that, you'll be able to find some things that will help you if you take that. Now, you don't have all the teaching there, but you've got enough there to be able to begin approaching this issue of temper tantrums. And every child has a problem with anger. I don't care who the child is. And sadly, many kids never grow out of that. I just read an article today about a young lady, 13 years of age, who had a fight with her mother as they were driving along, and her mother stopped the car, and the girl got out of the car and sat on the highway in Florida. And according to the news report, I'm not going to give any names or anything because I don't know the truthfulness of the news report, but according to the news report, they said what happened was there was a fight between the mother and the daughter, and the girl basically threw a temper tantrum and sat down in the middle of the road wearing dark clothes at night. It was dark out. And a car was starting to come. The mother was trying to get the girl to move, and the girl would not move. She wouldn't listen, and ended up the car not only killed the girl, hit the girl and killed her, but also hit the mother. And I don't know what damage was done there as well. Now, I have no idea what they were arguing about, but I know this. The girl had to be very angry in order to be sitting in the middle of the road and unwilling to listen to her mother's counsel to get out of the way of a car that's coming and sitting there with dark clothes on. I mean, this girl, in essence, ended up committing suicide. Now, temper tantrums are not reserved just for little kids, 2 years old and 5 years old, or even 8 or 10 years old. It can be teenagers. You can read almost every week in the news. There are sports people that are involved, athletes that are having temper tantrums. I mean, this thing gets rampant, and about whoever you talk to, I mean, let's just be honest about it. Adults have temper tantrums too. Now, hopefully they don't act out to that degree, but they can get upset. They can have mood swings and all the rest, and it's nothing but a certain measure of control on a temper tantrum. And in some cases, no control whatsoever. And that's what we want to deal with here. Not just to get control of the temper tantrum, but ultimately to get control of the heart. That's where we want to go with all of this, okay? And so in the STOP formula, we talk about two of the pieces of the STOP formula. Each of the four have a piece in all of this and are very critical in it. But the T, if you will, talks about triggers. And Jay talks about this here. He talks about, ultimately in the email, he says that whenever we ask our son to put away his toys, to clean, to help, to take a bath, obey in public, etc., that's when it happens. Okay? Now, not every time, but when he's not in a good mood. Now we're starting to narrow it down just a little bit. We're noticing something about this young man, and it's very simply this, that he wants what he wants when he wants it. And if he wants it bad enough, he's willing to have a fit. Now, what that fit looks like, I don't happen to know. He talks about here, he can not only have a fit, but he also talks about, wine he talked about. And we're going to talk about that in just a moment. And so what we've got going here is a young man who wants his way. Now, I've got news for you, 4-year-old, that's exactly what 4-year-olds want. They want what they want. And they want to be in control. They want to be in charge up to the point of being able to tell mom and dad, here's what I want. I'm going to get what I want. That's a 4-year-old. Now, I could recommend a number of things if this was a 7-year-old or an 8-year-old, a number of things that I would try and deal with. But at a 4-year-old status, what you're dealing with is a young person who wants what they want, and they're going to get what they want, and they're going to throw a fit. And as long as sometimes they get what they want, they're going to keep on trying it again. Even if it means that 5 out of 7 times they don't get what they want, 2 times was enough to encourage them to keep on trying again. And so as a parent, we need to realize, okay, what's the trigger here? The trigger is, number one, that the child's mood is not one of compliance at this moment. Number 2, the child's being asked to do something that he does not want to do. Okay, something that's going to expend energy and kind of goes against him. Okay, now 2 thoughts here real quick. Okay, when I think about this trigger, I think about how can I remove the trigger? How can I make the trigger less touchy, if you will, so that it doesn't shoot off into a fit? Well, a couple of things that I would think about trying here. Now, every child's different. I'm not going to tell you one thing fixes everything, but I would try this. I would try the 5-minute alert. Now, I'll tell you what a 5-minute alert is real quick, and then I'll explain why it sometimes works. The 5-minute alert is where mom or dad realize that, okay, we're going to go in and we're going to ask our son to take a bath. He's in the middle of playing with his toys. He's in the middle of watching, some special video, or maybe in some case a video game that he's allowed, or listening to some special music that he's listened to that we allow him to listen to. We're trying to shape and mold his life along the way, and he's happy with these things. And now we're going to interrupt this. We're going to tell him it's time now to go get a bath. Okay. Well, put yourself in those shoes for just a moment. If your wife came and interrupted you in the middle of something that you were very intent on getting accomplished, and she said, come and do this and do it right now, how would you feel? Okay, you might do it, but in your heart of hearts, you're going to be a little bit disturbed with, man, why can't it just wait for, a few minutes? And for a 5-year-old, or a 4-year-old in this case, a warning ahead of time, and I wouldn't call it a warning so much as an alert, to be able to say, hey, Tommy, hey, Billy, whatever the name is, in 5 minutes now, hey, 5 minutes now, and try to keep it happy if I could, but in 5 minutes now, we're going to go take a bath. So whatever you're doing right now, you need to be able to finish up. So you think about what you want to get accomplished before I come back in, and I'm going to let you know in 5 minutes, and then we're going to pick your toys up, and then you're going to go in and get your bath. Now, what you've just done is given him an alert. You've allowed him to have some control over those few minutes before you come back to ask him. And that may be enough with your son to avert many of these confrontations that are taking place. And so all you're doing is putting yourself in his shoes and saying, okay, let me think about how I would respond if I was in his shoes and somebody was coming in and demanding, do this and do it right now. Okay. Then now the scripture talks in the book of Ephesians, it talks about provoke not your children to wrath. And what the Lord's talking about there is very simply, try to put yourself in your kid's shoes and realize you're not the tyrant that's in charge all the time. Now, the flip side of this is real simple. And it's what you're saying here, Jay, that I really like. You say you want to be understanding to your son's concerns. That's good, okay? And that's where I'm asking you that instead of allowing your kid to debate with you, and I'm not saying that you do that, but many parents do, and if you allow your son to debate, well, he feels like he has a chance to talk you out of this, okay? That's why I would put myself in my son's shoes and try to think about, okay, what would be the problem here? And problems usually mom and dad walking in demanding right now, let's get this done. So be understanding, give him a 5-minute alert, but hang on, you need to be in firm control. Just like you say here, you want to be firm in your requests. And that's very wise, because as a 4-year-old, you're not dealing with a child who you should be sitting there debating with about whether this is the right thing to do at this time or not. If it's time to take a bath, mom or dad have decided that it is time to take a bath, and the boy needs to learn to comply. And until he learns to submit to authority, you're going to have some difficulties with him. And as he grows up, if he learns to submit to authority, you're going to find yourself able to sit down and then give, at later ages, the ability to be able to talk with you, make appeals to things that maybe you want him to do. He can make an appeal. You can have a discussion and talk about why it's a good thing, bad thing, and hear his side and make a firm decision at that point. The O in our formula, the STOP formula, is options. And options, what I'm talking about here is there's a number of ways to be able to handle temper tantrums, all right? Number of things that you can be able to do. And one of the things that I really like is what I would consider just natural consequences, okay? There are natural consequences. And for instance, say a kid wants to eat only chocolate ice cream and they don't want any real food, any good food, okay? And mom and dad are thinking, oh, how horrific to let this kid have chocolate ice cream. Well, I got news for you. You might try this, okay? Maybe you won't. It might be some kids getting on here and saying, hey, mom and dad, would you mind watching this and doing what he says? But give them a half gallon of chocolate ice cream. Let them get a good tummy ache and tell them now there's no more food until the next meal in a few hours, several hours. And in about, a couple hours as they eat that thing, they're going to get so not only full and a stomach ache from it, but very probably also they're going to wind up getting very hungry in a couple of hours because all that sugar goes to charging around in there. Now, I'm not saying that's a good idea. All right. I know there's sugar highs and all the rest that come into play and may not be the best answer. But what I'm saying is there are natural consequences that can happen. So if a child disobeys and those natural consequences come into play and the child realizes this hurts, you can often point out to them the next time, hey, do you remember last time you did this? This is what happened. This is why. Right now, I'm saying to you, no, we're not doing this, okay? And so natural consequences can come into play on occasion. Now, one that's a step beyond that just a little bit is the natural consequences that are also associated consequences, okay? And it's real simply this. If your son doesn't want to obey, he's upset because you're asking him to do something that you don't want him to do, or something that it's time to stop doing. Let's say you're asking him to quit doing what he's doing, to go get a bath, all right? Your son at this point is going to get upset. He's going to be bothered. What's his real problem? Well, here's where your insight was, okay? You picked up on it and picked up on it well. Sometimes he whines. Whining is an indication of a hard attitude problem. And sometimes he throws a fit. That's an attitude of acting out that hard attitude. Many parents are in the business of battling this action that the child is doing, and they aren't recognizing the whining that's going on. They aren't recognizing the heart problem that's begun, and they're not addressing it. As a parent, especially as a Christian parent, what I'm most concerned about in my kids is not, well, maybe that isn't the right way to phrase it. I don't want them to just, let's put it that way. I don't want them to just do what I say. I want them to do it with a right heart. I want them to have what I would consider the definition of right obedience. Okay, what is obedience? Obedience is immediate, doing what they're told when they're told, doing immediately, doing all of what they're told, and doing it with a right spirit, with a sweet spirit. In other words, that doesn't have to be a smile on the face, but with a spring in the step, with a desire in the heart to please mom and dad. That's what we're after. Now, if you can get a child who wants to please mom and dad, if you can get a child who has a heart to want to do what's right with a sweet spirit, you've won the battle. Now you've got it, and you're going to be able to move forward. How do you get that? Okay. Well, here's one thing that I found that's been very good, and it's very simply to have an attitude alert. And an attitude alert is where you as a parent come up with a way of notifying your child, okay? And talking with words doesn't necessarily work well, is what I found as a parent. What I taught my kids was, and worked very well, especially with my boys, was that when they began to do something that was wrong, and this works not only with an anger issue or whatever else, but about anything. They could be across the room doing something. And I taught my boys that when they heard this, I snapped my fingers. My boys could be across the room. They'd hear the snap of fingers. They would turn around looking for dad. They'd see me across the room, and all I had to do was shake my head. They knew immediately something they were doing wasn't right. They would stop. They'd learned to pay attention. There was an alert. In the middle of a meltdown, when they were starting to get a little bit out of control, that noise would cut through a lot of other noise and would catch their attention. Might have to snap twice, but never more than twice. And the idea was to give them alert. Hey, I want your eyes right here on my eyes. That's what I was after. Never correct your kids without them looking directly at you. Make sure that they're looking directly at you. Make sure that you've got them, when you're giving instructions, looking directly in your eyes. Now, what you've got at that point is you've got their undivided attention. Many times what I see parents doing, I made this mistake many times in the younger years, especially with my kids. I'd be telling them to do something while they were doing something else, and they weren't paying attention, so they weren't hearing me. I'd go away thinking they heard everything. They didn't necessarily hear everything. So I got to where I'd get their attention. I'd get them to look at me. I would tell them what I wanted them to do. I would then have them repeat that back to me. When they did that, I knew that they had heard. Okay? So giving them instructions that they repeat back, making sure that they're looking in your eyes, becomes a major alert, a very good way to be able to handle this. Now, a step beyond that, okay, let's suppose now that the child does not stop the meltdown, the fit, the anger, the attitude issue that may be going on at this point. It isn't going to go away. It isn't going to stop at this point. All right. Now, another option, and it's just one of many options that could be dealt with here, but here's another option that I would recommend that you really give some serious thought to. It's what I call a training camp. Now, training camp is real simple. A training camp is, let's say you're going to ask your child to pick up the toys so that you can take them for the bath, okay? You're going to ask them to stop whatever they're doing so that you can take them for the bath. You're going to ask them to go for a bath, all right? Whatever it may be. And the child instead throws a fit. Okay, real simple. At this point, you're going to set the child aside. You're going to let them finish their meltdown. You're going to let them get calmed down. When they get calmed down, you're going to let them know this now needs a training camp. Oh, what's a training camp? Well, a training camp is real simple. Here we go. All right. A training camp is a time of training. Now, as a parent, what you're going to do, let's say it was picking up their toys. They're going to have a training time of picking up their toys. And so you're going to have them at a particular time. We'll talk about when all this goes on. You're going to have them lay these toys out on the floor. I don't know, 5, 6 of them, whatever, doesn't matter. And they're going to put them away in the toy container. And they're going to do it over and over and over and over and over and over again. And each time they do it, they're going to do it in response to your command. You're going to very simply say, okay, Johnny, I want you to pick those toys up now and put them away. You're going to ask them to turn and look at you. They're looking at you, paying attention to you, and they're going to say, you want me to put the toys away? Yes, sir. Now, I would add the yes, sir. I realize in a lot of cultures, people may not want to do that, and that's fine if you don't want to, but I find that it adds respect and helps the child be reminded of the need of respect. And I want the child to say it with a smile. Yes, sir. Okay. They may not always feel it inside, but I want them to say it on the outside. Yes, sir. And then I want them to pick the toys up and put it away. Then I say, okay, please dump those toys out right now. Johnny, what did I say? Please dump those toys out, Daddy. Yes, sir. And then they go and they do it. Okay. Now they've done it again. Now we ask them again. Now pick those toys up, Johnny, looking at me. What did I say, Johnny? Oh, Daddy, you want me to pick up those toys? Yes, sir. And turn around, pick the toys up. This goes on for 4 minutes. Now, hang on. If the child does not do it with a sweet attitude, I got to pick up the toys. Okay. You stop them and you say, now, Johnny, just a minute. We're restarting our watch right now because you just interrupted our 4 minutes and we're going to have to start all over and do this. Now, be prepared for 15, 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes of this before you finally get it right the first time through. And Johnny realizes that you're serious about this and you're going to carry through. Now, here's an added thing, okay? You're going to do this at a time, if you've got other children, this is really good. You're going to do it at a time when all the children are getting together to do something together. Maybe they're playing a game. Maybe they're going swimming. Maybe it's something that Johnny really wants to do. Maybe they're watching a special video that you've put on the VCR for them. And so I'm dating myself, okay? But they're going to watch this special video that the kid really likes. And you're going to say, oh, Johnny, you know, while the other kids are doing this, it's time now for our training camp. Oh, Dad, do we have? Yes, Johnny, it is time right now. While they're gone there, we're going to go over here, you and I, and we're going to work on this. And it's going to cost you some time. It's going to cost you some work. But believe me, after you've gone through a training camp a few times with a child, they won't want to do these anymore because, number one, they're missing something that they really enjoy. Number two, they're doing something that becomes so boring and so mundane, doing it over and over and over again. You don't want to make it fun. You don't want to make it enjoyable in that sense. I'm not talking about being a drill sergeant or be mean. I'm just talking about you want to make it so that they realize, oh, I'm being trained to do it right. Train up a child in the way he should go. Now, what are you after? Not training them how to put a toy away, but maybe the kid's throwing the toy and you want to stop that too. Johnny, we got to start again because you threw the toy. You didn't place it in the box right. And so you have him come back and you start all over again until this is all done. This training camp then becomes the goal of not only the child doing what's right, but especially doing it with a right attitude. Now, I've seen this turn a number of kids. Now, again, it doesn't work for every child, but I will tell you this, it'll work with a number of children, and this will build within your children not only the issue of obeying when they're told, but it will also build within them an attitude, a sweet spirit of wanting to obey and to do the right thing. So I hope that this has been of some help and maybe given you some ideas. There's a number of other things we could talk about, but we've got to cut this off. It's probably getting rather long right now, so I'm going to shut this down. But let me encourage those of you that are watching, if you've not done so, to head on over to our website right there. Let me get my finger up there to show up in front. Christian-parenting.org. That's our website. And on there right now, I can't speak for later after this video is over with. I don't know how long this will last. But right now, there is the stop formula over there, and you can sign up to get that, and it'll be a link will be sent to you so that you'll be able to watch that video. It's only 4 minutes long, but it's a powerful formula. And if you begin to take that formula apart and put it together with your child, I'll tell you what, it will help you immensely in dealing with these temper tantrum issues. So if I can be of any help, other issues with parenting and you're concerned about godly parenting. Now, you're not interested in godly parenting, don't write me. I don't want to waste your time, don't want to waste mine. But if you're interested in godly parenting and you'd like some ideas and like to get some help, well, drop me an email. I'd be glad to talk to you. Head on over to that web page and drop me an email. Be glad to talk with you. And if you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook, would you just reach down there and click the thumbs up or click the like button? And maybe even share this with some other folks along the way. It might be of some help to them as well. Thanks so much. This is Doug Hammett from Christian-parenting.org signing off right now. God bless you.